If you vanished in a thin hair, will your boss's boss, or your company miss you? Of course, not you as a person, but the role you represent. If they won't miss you, then you are probably doing a bullshit job. No offense. Let's get real. Bullshit jobs exist, and here's why it's concerning. Work is one of the things which, when taken out of our lives, makes us a meaningless bunch of creatures walking around the earth. We might have other roles and things to do, but work is what makes the world work. But work is not an end in itself. No one loves to work their asses out for nothing, right? That means work helps us achieve something greater in our lives. Work has values and it adds some meaning to each person's life. It is for this reason wealthy people still work after the supposed retirement age. Above all, work gives us a sense of belonging, a feeling of fulfillment, and a way to get by through the money we make from working. This is how work gives our lives meaning, the illusion of value. As much as work is meant to give us all these benefits, most jobs these days give us only a salary. We don't feel fulfilled doing them. We don't contribute significantly to any grand vision, but we get paid. And this affects our self-esteem. All this is happening at a point in history when only 34% of employees say they're engaged at work. The rest are either doing nothing at all, or what anthropologist David Graeber calls bullshit jobs. We will talk more about what Graeber thinks about these bullshit jobs. Let's face it, most employees lack engagement, and this is costing U.S. companies an estimated $500 billion annually. There's a funny story from China. We can't verify it's true, but it illustrates the point well. A local politician asked for more jobs from industry. So the men in charge of construction fired the excavator driver and hired 20 people to use shovels instead. The following year, the local politician is said to have asked for even more jobs. So the construction engineers hired 200 new workers and gave them spoons instead of shovels. Now these are all bullshit jobs and would probably cost the company more delayed work and other intangible repercussions. Jobs are meant to provide meaning to those who execute them and help them build good self-esteem. What you do, contribute, the value you bring to the table is what makes capitalism what it is. It's the exchange of value. Capitalism runs on value and perceived equivalent exchange. When asked in a survey, 37% of workers said their work gave them little meaning, and another 13% were unsure, which is a high proportion, but one that was opinionated elsewhere. In 2018, anthropologist David Graeber wrote a theoretical book titled Bullshit Jobs, a Theory. Off the top of our heads, we may dismiss his concerns and some of his arguments as not quite strong. But that doesn't dispute the existence of some jobs that make no sense. You may say, whether the matter of the job or not shouldn't be such a big deal. Graeber disagrees. He contends that over half of societal work is pointless and becomes psychologically destructive when paired with a work ethic that associates work with self-worth. The book received a fair amount of praise and some conducive criticisms. Like many other books out there, we see it as a wake-up call. But just what does a bullshit job mean? Graeber defines one as a form of paid employment that is so completely pointless, unnecessary, or pernicious that even the employee cannot justify its existence, even though, as part of the conditions of employment, the employee feels obliged to pretend that this is not the case. How did this happen? The answer is fairly simple: technology, automation, and a little bit of human ego to feel good and satisfy competition. The author categorizes these unnecessary jobs into 5 types. Types of bullshit jobs. Flunkies. The roles flunkies in a company are mainly to make their bosses look good, feel important, and serve their ego interests. Such jobs as receptionists, personal assistants, some of whom are now called executive assistants, door attendants, and even writers and editors of company newsletters, which most people don't even read. Goons. We all know corporate America is tough and ruthless, but no business guy wants to be tagged unethical. And some jobs must simply be given to the jobs to tackle. Public relations officers are at the top of this list. Lawyers, telemarketers, community managers, and lobbyists are key members of the Goons list. Duct tapers. Like duct tapes, this group of bullshit jobs is solely responsible for executing temporary fixes that could have been fixed by another worker. Think of an airline desk staff whose responsibility is to calm down passengers whose bags haven't arrived with the rest. Box stickers. The box makers are a tricky bunch and may actually seem legit. They create the appearance that something useful is being done, but when you raise the curtains to check what's been cooking, you find nothing. These include survey administrators, in-house magazine journalists, corporate compliance officers, and service quality managers. Taskmasters. The last bunch of the bullshit jobs actually rank high in TH hierarchy to serve the purpose of nothing. They either manage or create some perceived extra work for workers who do not need it. They are middle management and leadership professionals. The solution to all of this? Actually, there is little to do about these jobs. They simply aren't needed, and if we are to be totally efficient and productive in which roles we hire, these categories of jobs will be the first to cut off. This brings us back to the automation and technology takeover. Robots, AI systems, and software can and are fast replacing most of these jobs. The solution Grieber suggests is the universal basic income, which means governments pay people for doing nothing. In some way, bullshit jobs are already doing this anyway. The book isn't without counters, and some criticism have been raised. The author first wrote about bullshit jobs in an essay that got massive attention and a YouGov survey. The survey affirmed some of the arguments of Grieber, who then used the results and other findings as to the basis for his book, which is a revised version of the essay. In essence, some of these bullshit jobs exist because of the fierce competition in the market, making companies employ every tool in the box. Government regulation, which lobbyists for once profit from negotiating, long supply chains, and the withering of inefficient companies. Conclusion. But hey, what do you think about bullshit jobs and the proposition of universal basic income? Is it worth it? Let us know in the comments.